Hello. All right. I call this meeting to order. The board secretary will now call roll.
Okay. All right, Chairman here. Too fast. Vice Chair Yorbe, Secretary Treasurer Rawlings, Director Almeida, Director Angeles, Director Kemp, Director Sutton. We have a quorum.
Great. Elizabeth Brown will present the May 2026 Employees of the Month.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, Ms. Yu, and all others assembled here today. I am Elizabeth Brown, Executive Director and Vice President of Organizational Development and Administration. In support of LBT's strategic priority of foster employee engagement, it is my pleasure to acknowledge the Employees of the Month for May 2026. The Employees of the Month for May 2026 are Ramon Lopez, Martin Esparza, and Carly Wade. Bus operator Ramon Lopez has been with LBT for 26 years, and this is his second Employee of the Month nomination. He is currently assigned to LBT 1. Operator Lopez performs his duties with professionalism, integrity, and dedication. He maintains perfect attendance and is consistently on time. Throughout his years of service, Ramon consistently demonstrated humility, dependability, and a strong commitment to the team. His reliability and professionalism continue to have a positive impact on the team. Mechanic Martin Esparza has been with LBT for 26 years, and this is his sixth Employee of the Month nomination. He was also Employee of the Year in 2013. Martin is currently assigned to LBT 1, where he is often simultaneously working on 2 buses while assisting with a third. He has extensive knowledge of the compressed natural gas fleet and a strong understanding of bus network operations. Martin openly shares his institutional knowledge by helping train new mechanics and assisting them in diagnosing issues with their buses. He is a hard worker who supports his team in meeting their goal. Carly Wade serves as a performance management analyst and has been with LBT for 1 year. This is her first Employee of the Month nomination. Carly recently played a key role in developing the warehouse materials and warranty dashboard, a tool that is now relied upon by multiple teams within the finance and budget department. Also, she was a key leader in delivering the economic impact analysis in partnership with California State University, Long Beach, and successfully facilitated a workshop with TransPro in March. Carly continues to add value to the organization through proactive collaboration with other departments and her contributions to key organizational initiatives. It is my pleasure to now present these valuable members of the Long Beach Transit team via video.
My name is Ramon Lopez. I am a bus operator and I've been here 26 years. And my favorite part of working here at Long Beach Transit is the flexibility that they have with the scheduling. I was surprised to be chosen for Employee of the Month. And it's nice to be appreciated.
My name is Martin Esparza. My title is VIP A mechanic, and also I have the title of lead man. And I have been working for Long Beach Transit It's gonna be 27 this July. My favorite part of working for Long Beach Transit is the friendship and the family feeling among my workers and my superiors, and I'm happy for that. I feel honored, and also I want to thank all the supervisors who chose me to be the employee of the month.
My name is Carly Jo Wade. I'm a performance management analyst, and I've worked at Long Beach Transit over a year now. My favorite part about working at LBT is that my role allows me to collaborate across many departments, and I get to see how every project and decision leads towards contributing to keeping our community moving. Something that stands out most to me is how collaborative our culture is. Everyone is focused on achieving the best outcome for our customers and supporting each other's growth. Being chosen as Employee of the Month feels surprising and rewarding. I'm very proud of myself and my team for all we've accomplished this year. Being recognized by my direct leadership is very encouraging, and I think it's a really nice, tangible reminder that the effort I've been putting in and the goals I've set and are working towards are making an impact.
Thank you to all of the employees of the month for being dedicated to connecting communities, moving people, making everyday life better. Thank you.
Great. Thank you. And I do see someone's here that was recognized. Congratulations. Is there anybody else? Great. Are there any public comments on this item? Any discussion from the board? Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Elizabeth. Moving on, at this time, I invite members of the public who want to address the board on any matters that do not appear on the agenda, and it's within the board's jurisdiction. If you haven't already done so, I ask you submit a speaker card. Do we have any public comments? All right, great. Great. Now I'll move to the consent calendar. All matters, including the consent calendar, are considered routine by LBT Board of Directors and will enact by one motion. There are no separate discussions of these items unless a member of the Board of Directors or public requests so, in which the event of the matter shall be removed from the consent calendar and considered separate item. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent calendar?
Who was the second? Okay.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Then we'll do a roll call vote.
Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Narve.
Aye.
Secretary Treasurer Rawlings. Director Almeida. Director Angeles. Director Camp. Director Sutton.
Great. Okay. The motion carries. The consent calendar is approved. And now Kimberly Yu will present agenda item 7.
Great. All right. Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, and all who are assembled here today. My name is Kimberly Yu, Deputy CEO at Long Beach Transit. I'm here before the board to update the board on the agency's preparation for the upcoming World Cup 2026 games. For today's presentation, I will be discussing the following: the World Cup 2026 overview, our agency's service, as well as our operational plan highlights and our coordination efforts. The World Cup 2026 games are right around the corner. As you know, it's only 2.5 weeks away, 18 days and just 14 working days for us until the first match on June 12th. Of the 8 matches, 2 are scheduled on a Sunday and the rest 6 are scheduled during the weekday. Long Beach Transit will be one of the 14 regional transit providers, also known as RTP, in Southern California, delivering transit service for the World Cup 2026 matches with the LA County Metropolitan Transportation Authority, also known as Metro, being the host transit agency for the World Cup 2026. The regional transit providers can be seen on the chart above. As noted in the previous board updates, LBT service will start in downtown Long Beach to the SoFi Stadium, also known as the LA Stadium, during the World Cup matches. This slide provides a high-level overview of the distance and a typical travel time between downtown Long Beach and LA Stadium. The route is approximately 20 miles long, one way, with an estimated travel time of 50 minutes under normal traffic conditions. Our agency staff actually conducted several field assessments to confirm routing, travel time, and operational feasibility. Our service will start about 3 to 4 hours ahead of each match, and it will also depart 90 minutes after the game ends. To support customer access to LBT World Cup service, the City of Long Beach plans to provide parking accommodations for ticket holders at designated city place parking structures. The current approach anticipates approximately 200 parking spaces at City Place C, with additional parking expected to expand as demand increases during the event operations. LBT will also provide Dial-A lift vehicle on standby if LBT buses are at full capacity and a ticket holding customer requires ADA transportation to and from the games. A one-way fare from the pickup location to drop off will be $1.75 or a $3.50 round trip for a valid ticket holders. This is consistent with the required guidelines set forth by Metro as the hosting agency for the World Cup 2026. At the last board presentation, I noted that there is approximately 0.7-mile walk between the designated drop-off and pickup locations at the Intuit Dome, East Garage, and the stadium area. Multiple stakeholders, including Long Beach Transit, strongly expressed concerns regarding accessibility and customer mobility impacts associated with this distance. Metro has since informed LBT that the LA Sports and Entertainment Commission plans to provide a separate wheelchair golf cart service at the designated drop-off and pickup locations during each match to assist ADA customers requiring transportation accommodations. The following slides provide an overview of our agency's additional efforts to support customer awareness and overall event readiness. LBT's external communications efforts focus on providing customers with simple, clear, and accessible information to help them understand how to access transportation services, reduce confusion, and support a safe, reliable, and seamless customer experience. This effort is accomplished through digital outreach, such as consistent messaging across all LBT social media platforms, dedicated LBT World Cup webpage targeting digital outreach, print and physical media, such as placing ads in Beach Cities Magazine, local hotel handouts for visitors, business window clings, community newsletters, flyers for local distribution. LBT's key messages will focus on service options and schedules, locations of pickup and drop-offs, accessibility information, travel planning tools, materials in multiple languages, and accessibility formats. LBT staff have been diligently working with key partners like City of Long Beach and Metro to align messaging. In addition, LBT plans to provide on-site customer support through trained staff volunteers deployed at designated pickup and drop-off locations to assist with wayfinding support, passenger flow management, and help deliver a safe, reliable, and high-quality customer service throughout the event operations. As part of the regional customer experience strategy and in coordination with Metro, various wayfinding elements will be deployed around LA Stadium and designated pickup locations, including downtown Long Beach. LBT plans to utilize these tools to help guide customers throughout the pickup and drop-off areas within the City of Long Beach, And visual examples shown here illustrate the type of signage, pavement markings, queue management tools, and branded customer information elements being evaluated as part of the overall World Cup customer experience. Wayfinding elements may include directional signage, bus identification, parking guidance, pedestrian routing, queue delineation, and customer information points. LBT's maintenance plan is focused on delivering clean and reliable and professional fleet experience throughout the World Cup operations. Buses supporting the service will feature event-specific wraps and branding elements to create a consistent and recognizable customer experience. Regular vehicle cleaning and detail will be conducted to maintain fleet appearance, cleanliness, and overall presentation during the event period. LBT security is focused on maintaining a safe, secure, and well-coordinated environment for both customer and employees throughout the World Cup operations. The plan is being developed in close partnership with Long Beach Police Department's Transit Enforcement Detail, along with our transit ambassadors and operational staff stationed at key pickup and boarding stations. A visible security and ambassador presence is intended to support organized customer boarding, reinforce safety messaging to assist customer navigation, and provide rapid response capability if needed. Lastly, LBT continues to actively engage and coordinate with external stakeholders in support of World Cup planning efforts. Staff is closely working with City of Long Beach to strengthen event operations and enhance the customer experience through coordinated planning related to park and ride operations, customer communications, road closure planning, and public viewing activities. We are also continuing to coordinate closely with Metro on bus operations, customer display information, integrated visitor messaging, and aligning regional marketing and communication strategies to support a consistent customer experience across the broader World Cup transit network. In addition, staff has been meeting regularly with key community and business stakeholders, including the Downtown Long Beach Alliance, Convention and Visitor Bureau, Long Beach Chamber of Commerce, and the City of Long Beach Council of Business Associations to share updates on our agency's World Cup service plans and operational preparedness. LBT also appreciates its ongoing partnership with the Downtown Long Beach Alliance, which is supporting the agency through collaborative marketing efforts and volunteer staffing assistance at our TVIC, as well as during related community and soccer celebration events. So collectively, these efforts are intended to help ensure a safe, reliable, coordinated, and customer-focused transportation experience throughout the World Cup event period. This concludes my presentation. Thank you, and I'm available for any questions.
All right, is there any public comment? All right. Any discussion from the board? Go for it, Director Ramada.
Just wanted to say, I've been seeing the presentations, I feel like, a bunch of times around the city and different boards and community groups. So I just wanted to commend you all on all that kind of outreach. And the hardest thing is that folks are going to at some point say, I didn't hear about it. But I know I've seen it everywhere and I see it on the social media. So just commend you and the team for getting all that information out there. And we'll keep doing that with you all as much as possible. So thank you so much for your work.
Great. Thank you.
Director Kemp?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Great report, as always. Love the animations. Not sure the bus was going the speed limit. It looked a little fast. I also wanted to compliment you all on the promo, Mike Gold and his team, but also underscore the opportunity to do more. I think it's a great opportunity to align our brand with the World Cup. It's a great opportunity to amplify Long Beach. And it's a great program for $1.75 to get to all of these, events in an environment where gas prices, by that time will probably be $8 a gallon, maybe 10. It's a great program for the community. So I think to the extent that we can invest robustly in marketing for this and maybe think outside the box in terms of how we reach folks, maybe through a social media strategy, some video applications, things beyond the great print ads and things that you laid out here. I think it's really just a good investment for all parties involved.
Any additional discussion?
Thank you. Thank you for the report. I noticed that there wasn't a summary of a budget or finances. Can you give us a little bit of information on that?
Sure. We're working with Metro. We have a term sheet with the agency to get it reimbursed. So our operating or the service that we will be providing will be paid or reimbursed by LA Metro.
Okay. And I think something that would be useful for me and for the board would be to have a lessons learned summary once all this is over and you guys take a break from all of it. So if that's something you can consider in your next report, post the games.
Sure.
Okay,
Will
thank
do.
you.
Okay, anything else? Yes, Director Angela.
I know that there is a number of viewing venues and events. Are we coordinating with the city and with respect to providing extra services to those particular viewing venues?
Excited about the partnership. We have a number of viewing opportunities throughout downtown. If you want to watch World Cup and you're not lucky enough to have one of those very expensive tickets to go in person, or you want to watch a game that's taking place in Houston or elsewhere, downtown Long Beach is the place to do that. The great news is LBT has excellent service today to downtown, but we're working with Kimberly and the entire team to make sure that folks can get around and have a fantastic time and not drive after they have a fantastic time. So LBT service is a great way to do that.
Additional discussion from the board? Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
I'll just add to what Christopher's just mentioned. So we also have an open streets, beach street type event that's happening as well. So that's another opportunity to get outside of vehicles, get on roller skates or bikes or walk all around our downtown area as well.
So exciting. So many things happening. Anything else from the board? Oh, I think that's it. Thank you so much, Kimberly. And now Terry Kuhn will present agenda item 8.
Testing, testing. All right. Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, Deputy CEO Yu, and to all who are assembled here today. My name is Terry Kuhn, Manager of Finance in the Finance and Budget Department, and I'm before you today to request the board to authorize the President and CEO to extend Long Beach Transit's participation in year 6 of the Los Angeles Metropolitan Transportation Authority's Regional Go Pass program until June 30th, 2027. So what is the Go Pass program? So glad you asked. In August of 2020, LA Metro announced its plan to pursue a countywide fairless system initiative for students, which is now known as the Go Pass program. LA Metro brought together local and municipal transit partners, including Long Beach Transit, into the conversation to assess feasibility, operational impacts, and the broader regional benefits of a unified fairless program. In September of 2021, the LA Metro Board of Directors approved an 18-month two-phase pilot. Long Beach Transit joined the program in November of 2021 after receiving authorization from our board. The initial pilot provided eligible students from participating school districts with unlimited subsidized rides across all agencies participating in the program. Today, approximately 20 transit agencies participate, including Long Beach Transit, LA Metro, Foothill Transit, Santa Monica Big Blue Bus, Gardena Transit, Orange Transit, Norwalk Transit, and others. In April of 2024, the LA Metro Board voted to transition the pilot into a permanent program with full implementation beginning July 1st, 2024. Under the Go Pass program, students use either a physical or virtual tap card that is activated through an eligibility code issued by their respective school. The registration process is simple and fully managed through the schools, which removes previous barriers such as long application timelines and waiting periods. And this has created a much more accessible and equitable path for students to utilize transit. Currently, the costs of the Go Pass program are shared between participating school districts and the participating transit agencies. Both K through 12 and community college districts contribute $7 per student per year to participate in the Go Pass program. The revenue collected from the districts is then distributed across the transit agencies on a prorated basis that reflects actual ridership. A $2 fee for each tap card issue is also deducted before funds are allocated to the participating agencies. It is also important to note that K through 12 districts are eligible for reimbursement of up to 60% of their transportation costs through Assembly Bill 181, which established the Home to School Transportation Funding Program. This support helps many districts offset a significant portion of their Go Pass contribution. This slide provides a simple illustration of how the revenue sharing model works among the participating transit agencies. And this table uses Long Beach Unified School District and Long Beach Community College District as examples, and the numbers you see here are estimates only for illustrative purposes. As a reminder, as stated in the previous slide, each district pays $7 per student per year for the entire population of their district. If we were to assume that Long Beach Unified School District has a total enrollment of 65,000 students for the 25-26 academic year, that would result in $455,000 due to LA Metro from LBUSD. Once the cost of tap cards distributed to students is deducted, the remaining revenue is shared among the transit agencies based on each agency's portion of LBUSD's student ridership. For LBUSD, Long Beach Transit is currently attributed with about 90% of all student boardings. Under that share, or under this model, LBT would receive roughly $346,000 of revenue from Long Beach Unified School District. That 90% share simply reflects the fact that most LBUSD students use Long Beach Transit for their trips, and the revenue follows that activity. This same calculation would also apply to Long Beach City College and to every other district participating in the program. Since I've already mentioned LBUSD and Long Beach City College District, this slide provides an even broader snapshot of the other districts and schools within our service area that currently participate in the Go Pass program. Across the region, participation is extensive. There are 134 K through 12 public school districts, charter networks, independent charter, and private schools participating in the program. In addition, 1 adult and vocational district and 9 community college districts are part of the Go Pass program today. That brings the total number of participating school districts, whether K through 12 or community college, to 144. And students from all 144 participating districts can use LBT service through the Go Pass program. So far, in year 5, the current year we're in, students from more than 60 of the 144 participating K through 12 and community college districts across the region have used LBT service. When we look at this on a school by school level, this represents more than 800 schools countywide whose students have boarded LBT buses through the Go Pass program. Within LBT's primary service area, which is largely made up of Long Beach Unified School District and the Long Beach Community College District, more than 18,000 tap cards are registered, currently registered to students, and that number represents about 17.5% of the combined student population of roughly 100,000 students between the two districts. These figures show that participation continues to grow and that students across a wide geographic area are choosing LBT as part of their mode of transportation. Now I will move into a discussion of the Go Pass program's performance over the past 2 years. This first chart represents the total Go Pass student boardings by quarter for years 4 and 5. Year 4 is shown in ocean blue, year 5 shown in the goldenrod, and year 5 are the estimated numbers to date. For clarity, this slide reflects only Long Beach Transit boardings. In year 4, Go Pass students took more than 2.7 million trips on LBT service. Year 5 is already over 2.5 million boardings, and based on current trends, we expect year 5 to finish slightly above year 4 total. Since Long Beach Transit first joined the Go Pass program, students have taken more than 10 million rides on our buses. This reflects both the strong demand for student mobility and the impact of removing costs as a barrier to transit use. Now we'll break out the boardings by student type. Of the 2.5 million Go Pass boardings recorded so far in year 5, the large majority continue to come from K through 12 students. They account for 74% of all Go Pass trips, while community college students make up the remaining 26%. This breakdown has been consistent with what we've seen throughout the life of the program. Most student travel activity is driven by daily K through 12 school commutes, while community college ridership reflects more varied class schedules and travel patterns. Looking at each group separately, this chart shows K through 12 Go Pass boardings by quarter for years 4 and 5 to date. Over the life of the program, K through 12 ridership has grown significantly, and year 5 continues that trend with higher early year numbers and strong fall and early spring peaks. And overall, year 5 is tracking slightly above year 4. As additional context, the California Department of Education reports that LBUSD's chronic absenteeism rate has fallen from 37.1% in the academic year 2021-2022 to 26.2% in academic year 2024-2025. Now, while many factors contribute to improved attendance, easier access to transportation perhaps may be one of the supports helping students to get to school more consistently. This next chart shows Go Pass community college boardings by quarter for years 4 and 5 to date. Year 5 is trending higher in nearly every quarter with strong growth during the fall term and solid performance into the spring. Overall, community college ridership has increased year over year, reinforcing the growing demand that we're seeing across the program in our service area. Now that we've reviewed student ridership trends, let's see how our revenue compares. This table summarizes ridership and revenue for each year of the Go Pass program to date. To orient you to the layout, the first column shows the fiscal year and corresponding program. The second column shows the total number of Go Pass boardings for that respective year. The third column represents the actual revenue Long Beach Transit received as part of our participation in the program, and with fiscal year 2026 shown as an estimate, keep in mind. The fourth column represents the base fare revenue we would have collected if every Go Pass ride had been paid at the full base fare of $1.25. The final column highlights the annual revenue loss associated with the same level of student ridership. Again, the numbers for year 5 or fiscal year 26 are projected through June 30th, 2026. In total, over the first 5 years of the program, Long Beach Transit has absorbed $10.3 million in revenue loss due to the current funding structure. Put simply, as we continue to reiterate each year that ridership growth under the Go Pass program has outpaced the revenue the program generates. These next two charts compare Go Pass to LBT's overall ridership by fare category on the left, and LBT's fixed route passenger fare revenue by category on the right. To put these two charts in perspective, while the Go Pass program makes up 22% of the ridership, it only accounts for 7% of fixed route passenger fares. Now we'll look at some of the costs. This chart shows Go Pass boardings by hour during a typical school week. By examining this chart, the pattern is clear that demand surges sharply during the morning peak hours between 7 a.m. and 9 a.m. and again in the afternoon between 2 and 4 p.m. These concentrated peaks require LBT to add extra buses and operators for very short windows of the day, which places a significant strain on resources, even though the demand is limited to these narrow time periods. Since the implementation of the Go Pass program, which addresses only students, LBT has added additional trippers to accommodate the additional ridership. Well, what is a tripper? You guys asked a fantastic question. A tripper is a bus placed in service for a very short targeted period when schools are in session to handle the sharp spikes in demand and prevent overcrowding during the morning and afternoon school peaks. These buses only operate during that limited window, and while not restricted to students, they're added specifically to ensure we can meet the increased student ridership during those school-related surges. Comparing the latest service change and the service level prior to the Go Pass implementation, a maximum of 30 additional daily trippers can be added on any given school day. The additional trippers require additional bus operators to accommodate the additional service required. And with around 180 student days in an academic year, this equates to approximately $500,000 in costs each fiscal year for the trippers alone. Despite the challenges and uncertainty around long-term funding for the program, the Go Pass program does continue to deliver meaningful benefits for students across the region and throughout Long Beach, particularly within our own service area. So as a reminder, staff is requesting a one-year extension into year 6 while we continue to evaluate the program's impact on our operational resources and work with LA Metro and our partner agencies and internally to secure additional funding. Therefore, I'm requesting board authorization for the president and CEO to extend Long Beach Transit's participation in year 6, the Los Angeles Metropolitan Transportation Authority's Regional Go Pass program until June 30th, 2027. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Terry. Do I hear a motion to approve the recommendation? Great. Are there any public comment? Seeing none, is there any discussion from the board? Director Angeles?
Congratulations on the program. From a perspective of a kid who took, public transit from, I don't know, 3rd grade all the way to high school, it's a valuable thing to have in terms of being able to get to school and from and wherever else. The one element that I did want to remind the public is that investment that we're making out of a deficit of 10 million in that 6-year program is, if you have to think of it in the context of creating a body of people who are introduced to public transit and making them comfortable about taking public transit at a young age, so that when they are then become adults and working, they feel comfortable instead of getting into a vehicle to use public transit. It's a little bit like, the Happy Meal at McDonald's, right? You introduce that meal and all of a sudden you have a life customer forever that always wants to go to McDonald's. It's the same concept, I believe, that when we introduce public transit to young students, even though we're investing the money that we were basically saving in branding and the money that we're saving in advertising to encourage people to take public transit is well invested into this program of getting kids to use public transit as a means to get to their places. So I don't see it as a deficit. I see it as a tremendous investment. So thank you.
Hello? Okay. Is there any additional feedback from the board? Direct. Else?
Thank you, Chair. Terry, thank you for your report. Just to piggyback on my colleague's comment, I totally agree and I support this item. However, I'm concerned about the future of the item for 2027 and 2028. I noticed from your report that it unintentionally frames the Go Pass as a lost fair revenue. And again, to piggyback on my comments, I think LBT should view the youth riders as transit access to mobility equity, education, climate policy, and rider cultivation. And I didn't see that in the report. I think, in addition, has staff begun to have conversations about the sustainability of this program after this term?
Yes.
Is it something that you could share with us right now?
Not at this moment.
Okay. Because there's nothing about, I think we should look at sponsorships, institutional partnerships, maybe renegotiate the $7 fee, renegotiate the $2 tap fee, cost sharing with subsidies from school districts and college and community colleges, perhaps limit the hours of the use of the card and have different costs for K to 12 and a different cost for college students. Again, actively converting student riders to become permanent paying riders is how we should reframe the whole strategy. Because right now, all I see it as lost fare revenue, and I think we need to shift it. So that's my comment.
Any additional feedback? I'm gonna go this way. No? Yes, Director Kemp.
Check. All right. I didn't get janky on the microphone, but you appreciated it. Thank you for the great presentation. Trippers meant something different in my neighborhood, but I guess it's different in the transit world. Great presentation. Great program. In my day job, I work at Long Beach City College. Our students utilize this program. Great to see the metrics here. I want to lead with the opportunity. I feel like this is a great opportunity for us to market, maybe not necessarily to get more usership, but to tell the public how great we are, our partnerships, how great we are for families. Even if they don't use this service, I think it's an opportunity to tell the story that Long Beach Transit is your partner in trying to educate your children. I caught the bus, the RTD, the rough, tough, and dangerous in South Central Los Angeles, starting, in the second grade. So I got you beat, Eddie. Back when parents had faith and not a tracker. Different times, strings. But, having a resource like this, especially as gas prices go up and families are impacted, being able to tell that story. Do we have a budget? Or is there a budget associated for marketing with this that we get from Metro or somebody else?
Not to my knowledge, no.
Okay. Something worth exploring. I'm not going to ask for a report back, obviously, on this one this time, but I do think it's an opportunity for us to tell a different story about who Long Beach Transit is and how we connect with the community and other partners. So telling a story about Long Beach Unified School District, telling a story about different colleges, and Long Beach Transit as a partner with those brands that create warm, friendly feelings with folks who may be coming back to ask for something at some point. I loved the statement. I think it might have been you, make kids, and I think more importantly, parents feel comfortable with this option. I went to Japan last year, and I went to Mount Fuji, and I saw 6-year-olds getting on the train by themselves, nobody else around, and there's an understanding. The busiest train station in the world, kids getting on trains by themselves, but there's an understanding that there's a community within those agencies and in the public that are going to take care of those kids. Being able to communicate that as a possibility for Long Beach Transit, I think, is an opportunity that could go along with that campaign. Also want to echo Raul's ideas about cost sharing, because what I'm not hearing in what you're talking about is the possibility of a threat that this program could go away. Yes, we're talking about it. No, you're not at liberty to tell us more about it. That raises a concern for me. I'm not going to ask you to elaborate on that, but I do think strategies like cost sharing with institutions that benefit from this, like colleges, I might get in trouble at my 9 to 5, but the institutions have funds for things like this that might be able to take some air out of the tire and alleviate some of the pressure. I think limiting the timeframes to those peak hours that make sense, when you're getting out of school, when you go into school, and then price differentials. College students obviously theoretically should have more ability to pay a higher price than a K through 12 student. But otherwise, I just want to tell you, great presentation. Appreciate the work that you do.
Any additional feedback? Going once, going twice. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much. Now we call for a vote.
Okay, Chair Mejia. Vice Chair Nyorve. Aye. Secretary Treasurer Rawlings. Director Almeida. Director Angeles. Director Kemp. Director Sutton.
I'm going to abstain because the Metro program.
Okay. The motion carries. The recommendation to authorize President CEO to expand Long Beach Transit participation in the 6th year of the Los Angeles Metropolitan Transportation Authority's Regional Go Pass program until June 30, 2027 is approved. And now we're gonna head into what we've all been waiting for, the budget. Kimberly Yu and Lisa Patton, agenda item 9.
All right. Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, LBT executive leadership team, and all who are assembled here today. As you know, my name is Kimberly Yu, Deputy CEO at Long Beach Transit, and today Lisa Patton and I will present to you our agency's 2027 operating and capital budgets. As we begin this afternoon's presentation, I would like to first walk through the key topics that we will be covering. We'll start with the organizational focus, which outlines the strategic direction guiding the agency's priorities and decision-making efforts. And from there, I'll discuss the CEO's message and the budget theme for fiscal year 2027. Next, we'll reflect on major accomplishments from fiscal year 2026, highlighting milestones that laid the foundation for this year's budget development. I'll also provide a summary of our public outreach efforts, which played an important role in sharing the draft budget through customer and community feedback and stakeholder engagement. Lisa will then transition into our FY 2027 budget, beginning with the foundational and guiding principles behind its development, the challenges as well as opportunities ahead, and an overview of the proposed budget and key initiatives. Finally, she will then round out the breakdown of both our operating and capital budgets. And as we close today's presentation, we'll also recognize an important organizational achievement and acknowledge the dedicated employees whose hard work and collaboration contributed to the development of this year's budget and today's presentation. LBT's mission, vision, and values serve as a foundation that guides the work we do every single day, while the organizational focus translates those principles into clear strategies, priorities, and initiatives. As part of the budget development process, these elements help ensure that our investments remain aligned with what matters most. delivering safe, reliable, and high-quality service, supporting and investing in our employees, embracing innovation and continuous improvement, and lastly, serving our community with integrity and accountability. The budget is more than just a financial plan. It is a strategic roadmap that aligns resources with organizational priorities and reinforces Long Beach Transit's commitment to operational excellence, continuous improvement, and long-term success. On the side before you are LBT's vision, mission, and values, which is outlined in more detail in the organizational focus section of the budget book, beginning on page 16. The vision outlines the agency's long-term aspirations and commitment to deliver high-performing service to our customers, strengthen partnerships with local and regional stakeholders, build an environmentally sustainable organization, and foster trust to the diverse communities we serve. The mission defines the purpose of Long Beach Transit, dedicated to connecting communities and moving people, making everyday life better. Simply put, our agency is focused on making everyday life better for the communities we serve. Our values represent the principles and behaviors that guide the work we do every day and the culture we strive to uphold throughout the organization. Consider the customer first in decision-making by being of service to others. Operate with integrity, especially when no one is watching. Be open to new ideas and continuous improvement. Seek ways to improve current processes. Be proactive. Take personal ownership, especially when things go wrong. Cultivate the potential of each and every employee. We must strengthen LBT through development and training. Together, these vision, mission, and value statement help shape and inform the decisions that we make, the services we provide, and the organizational culture that we continue to build at LBT. Long Beach Transit's organizational focus brings together the key components that support the agency's strategies, processes, and annual budget development efforts. This graphic illustrates how LBT's vision, mission, and values connect with leadership competencies and strategic priorities to guide day-to-day decision-making across the organization. For FY 2027, the agency had added a sixth strategic priority, leveraging technology and innovation, further reinforcing agency's commitment to modernization, efficiency, and continuous improvement. Combined with the organizational goals, the framework also reflects LBT's continuous improvement approach, using key performance indicators to measure performance, evaluate outcomes, and identify opportunities to enhance agency's processes and services. In this year's CEO's budget message, he discussed that the fiscal year 27 budget reflects a disciplined and balanced financial plan focused on sustaining the agency's future through strategic leadership, partnership, and operational stability. This budget was developed through disciplined financial management, targeted investment in core priorities, responsible use of long-term savings, and a continued commitment to stable operational excellence. As we enter fiscal year 27, LBT remains committed to delivering safe, reliable, and customer-focused transit services to the communities we serve. Despite ongoing industry challenges, the agency continues to prioritize service reliability while maintaining the core mobility our customers depend upon each day. While the agency continues to deliver strong service, the financial environment surrounding public transit remains increasingly challenging. Operating revenues are experiencing modest changes as local and state economies soften, while uncertainty surrounding future federal transit funding continues to create concerns across the industry. Presently, the agency continues to face inflation pressures and the realities of operating a labor-intensive transit system, with more than 70% of our operating budget directly supporting workforce that deliver daily transit service. Although FY 2027 budget is balanced, the agency's long-term financial outlook presents significant challenges as we're experiencing widening structural deficits and declining reserves level. The path ahead for LBT will require focused leadership, disciplined decision-making, and continued collaboration across the organization to safeguard the agency's long-term future. As LBT plans for the future, it is clear that the financial challenges facing public transit cannot be addressed through short-term solutions alone. To strengthen the agency's long-term financial sustainability, staff will continue evaluating several strategic priorities and operational approaches beyond 2027. These efforts include advocating for stable state and federal transit funding, evaluating responsible revenue strategies with equity considerations, partnering collaboratively with labor groups, improving operational efficiencies, aligning service with fiscal realities, and leading with shared organizational commitment. LBT will continue reviewing spending commitments, operational priorities, and long-term financial strategies to preserve core mobility services while responsibly managing limited resources. As financial pressures continue across the transit agency, collaboration among the executive committee, board of directors, executive leadership team, and labor partners will remain essential. Together, we must be thoughtful, focused, and disciplined. Together, we must make thoughtful, focused, and disciplined decisions that strengthen the agency's financial position, preserve essential services and jobs, and continue delivering the high-quality transit service our communities deserve. This balanced budget affirms the agency's commitment to protecting LBT's future while responsibly navigating mounting fiscal challenges facing the public transportation industry. The first step in sustaining the future for this upcoming budget was to look back at fiscal year 2026. In fiscal year 2026, while continuing to deliver safe and reliable transit service, LBT advanced several major initiatives that support operational efficiency, workforce development, customer experience, and long-term system growth. A few accomplishments highlighted on this slide include reduced agency-wide absenteeism by 14% through strengthened internal management of sick leave by closing long-term cases, secured $1.2 million in Inflation Reduction Act electric vehicle tax credits representing approximately $40,000 per bus, reinstated the operator mentor program to provide new operators with additional coaching, hands-on route experience, safety training, and customer service support following graduation from training classes. Successfully hosted the 2025 California Transit Association Annual Conference, the highest attended conference in the organization's history, with more than 1,000 participants showcasing our agency's operations, facilities, and water taxi services to transit professionals statewide. Deliver one of the strongest water taxi seasons on record, achieving an 11% increase in ridership over the previous year through expanded outreach and social media engagement. Received a $15 million CMAQ grant award to support fleet modernization and future service delivery efforts. Continued advancement of STAR 2, comprehensive operational analysis, including community outreach, onboard and online surveys, and visioning sessions focus on improving ridership, reliability, customer experience, and service quality. Implemented Microsoft Copilot and Teams Premium to improve collaboration, communication, automation, and employee productivity across the organization. And lastly, increased local vendor spending by 17%, further supporting local economic investment and community partnership. Ultimately, the success of these initiatives is measured not only by operational performance, but also by experience of LBT customers and communities we serve every day. In the fall of 2025, ETC Institute, a national surveying organization, conducted customer and community surveys on behalf of LBT. The purpose of these surveys was to gather feedback regarding our services, customer experience, and overall agency performance. One of the strongest indicators from the survey was overall service satisfaction, where almost 9 out of 10 customers reported being satisfied or very satisfied with the service provided by LBT. When compared with peer transit agencies surveyed nationally, LBT's satisfaction rating performed 31% points higher than the national average, reflecting the agency's continued commitment to customer service and operational excellence. In addition to overall satisfaction, customers also provided strong feedback regarding several key areas of transit experience. Most notably, 80% of customers reported that LBT bus operators operate their vehicles safely, highlighting the professionalism, training, and dedication of our operators and transportation teams. Customers also responded positively regarding the convenience and affordability of LBT service, with 80% indicating that routes are convenient and 79% stating that fares are reasonable. These results reinforce the agency's continued focus on providing safe, reliable, and accessible transportation services to the community. Next, let's talk about Long Beach Transit's Net Promoter Score, or NPS, which measures customer loyalty and satisfaction by asking how likely customers are to recommend LBT's bus service to their friends or family. Customers who responded with a 9 or 10 are considered promoters, while those responding with 6 or below are considered detractors. And the score is calculated by subtracting detractors from promoters. This is the second year LBT has measured NPS, and proud to share that our 2025 score increased from 58 up to 50 from 50 last year. To put that into perspective, the national average among transit agencies surveyed by ETS is -16. Meaning that Long Beach Transit is currently performing 74 points above the national average. This is a huge accomplishment and reflects the hard work and dedication of employees across the organization to provide a high quality customer service. As stated, LBT also conducts a community value survey. The survey is conducted to collect public opinion on transit issues in the community. And the vast majority of the respondents in the surveys are very infrequent or customers who do not use our service. Here's what our community members said about LBT. 92% of the community members are aware of LBT, which is extremely high brand recognition. 86% of respondents agree that LBT is a valuable part of the community. There is strong belief by 77% of the community that LBT is reducing the carbon footprint, and 73% thinks LBT is part of reducing traffic congestion. Our community members expresses that LBT is a valuable part of the fabric of the community that it serves. The development of FY 2027 budget continued to emphasize community engagement, transparency, and responsiveness by incorporating outreach efforts designed to gather public feedback and strengthen awareness of the budget process. For FY 2027, LBT enhanced its public budget outreach effort through the launch of a dedicated budget website on May 14th. The page features new budget explainer videos available with English and Spanish subtitles to help the community better understand how LBT develops and funds its services, as well as how budget priorities are established. In addition, the webpage provides information on how the public can submit comments and feedback regarding the proposed budget and encourage community participation in today's board meeting and budget discussion. The budget website was also promoted through LBT social media channels to help increase awareness and encourage community engagement regarding our fiscal year 2027 budget. The site was visited over 260 times as of yesterday afternoon, and we received one comment which has been distributed to the board on the dais this afternoon. The comment expressed support for continued investment in fleet modernization and environmentally sustainable transit vehicles. So before Lisa dives into all the details of our fiscal year 2027 operating and capital budgets, this may be a good time or opportunity for the board to ask any clarifications on what I have covered for you. We covered the organizational focus, the CEO's message and budget theme, accomplishments of the previous year, customer engagement around the budget, customer and community feedback.
Additional comments? No.
Okay.
Okay. Go ahead.
So now I'll turn it over to Lisa Patton, Executive Director, VP of Finance and Budget, to provide the details of the FY 2027 budget.
You know, when a finance person brings hydration, we're in for some excitement here. When your presentation is as thick as the budget book, look out, here we go. Okay. Good afternoon, Chair Mejia, members of the board, Deputy CEO Yu, executive leadership team, and everybody assembled here today. My name is Lisa Patton, and I am the Executive Director and Vice President of Finance and Budget. As Kimberly mentioned, the focus of the budget is sustaining LBT's future through discipline, partnership, and strategic leadership. The budget builds on the strong foundation from prior years while addressing the financial pressures facing the agency today. It supports maintaining current service levels without any cuts, managing rising costs, and investing in our workforce and our assets. It's also important to note that this budget reflects advanced financial planning. As federal COVID relief funds were being managed, LBT made the strategic decision to spread those resources over multiple years and to preserve our reserves and expand our deferred revenues for the period after the one-time funding ended. And that period is now. That planning helps support the balanced budget before you today. Over the next several slides, I will walk you through the key foundations, the challenges, the outcomes and initiatives that shape the budget that we're presenting. So the budget is built on 5 key foundations. First one, no fare increase, which means customers will not pay more to ride LBT service. Second, through strategic service planning and disciplined financial planning, LBT is able to balance the budget without reducing service, even as costs rise and subsidy revenues stall. Third, LBT is offsetting rising costs through disciplined budgeting, spending reviews, cooperative procurements, and the prioritization of our essential needs. Fourth, this budget balances today's service needs with the long-term financial discipline needed to keep LBT financially healthy. And fifth, the budget continues the long-standing practice of operating without any debt. Before we move into the budget, I just want to spend a couple minutes on the challenges LBT is facing. These challenges are real and they affect both our revenue and our expenses. Understanding them helps explain the choices reflected in the budget and why continued financial discipline is critical as we move forward. This slide highlights the broader economic and funding conditions that impact LBT now and in future years. Challenges we're managing include inflationary pressure, flat and some declining sales tax subsidies, and uncertainty in state and federal funding. Inflation continues to affect the cost of goods and services. Increases in fuel prices are also resulting in higher costs for the goods and services we purchase. Tariffs also add to this pressure by increasing the cost of bus parts that are imported and goods and materials. Economic uncertainty causes consumers to spend less. And so when the personal consumption expenditure slows, sales tax revenues soften, which then reduce our subsidies. State and federal funding remain uncertain. Transit agencies obviously rely heavily on outside funding sources, and changes in either allocations, timing, or funding policies can directly impact LBT's operating capital budget. So let's talk about some of the challenges. A major organizational challenge is the continued increases in healthcare costs. As you can see on the chart, healthcare costs continued to increase and are budgeted at more than $12.3 million. This increase places pressure on the operating budget because healthcare is a major component of employee benefit costs. To help manage these costs, LBT is working with its insurance carrier to identify cost drivers and evaluate cost control programs. LBT is also expanding in employee health and wellness efforts, including work advanced by the Achieving Customer Excellence team to support employee health, well-being, and the overall work environment. Workers' compensation costs are another significant cost pressure. These costs continue to rise due to increases in labor, medical, and legal expenses. To help address this, LBT is using a more focused risk mitigation approach, including a risk mitigation task force. This effort is aimed at improving safety and reducing claim costs while continuing to support employees through claims management and return to work programs. Property damage and personal liability expenses are budgeted at $3 million. As the chart shows, these costs can vary significantly from year to year based on repair costs, legal expenses, and claim volume. In response, LBT is taking a coordinated, data-driven approach to managing these risks, including targeted safety interventions, cost-effective litigation management, and proactive education for operators and the public. Material and supplies expenses are budgeted at approximately $6.7 million. And for everybody in the audience paying attention, you'll notice, right, that is a flat cost. So LBT is managing these costs through proactive maintenance, including bus rehabilitation, predictive maintenance, and targeted fleet campaigns. The recent procurement of new buses also helps because now many of the parts from that procurement are covered under warranty during the early years of service. In addition, reducing the number of older gas hybrid buses helps lower age-related repairs. Over time, the transition to battery electric buses will help to reduce some maintenance needs because electric vehicles have fewer traditional engine components. The theme, Sustaining LBT's Future Through Discipline, Partner, and Strategic Leadership, reflects both the balanced budget before you and the financial challenges LBT must continue to address. The next section highlights the initiatives that move this theme into action and show how LBT is aligning its resources with the work needed to sustain the agency's future. With the balanced operating and capital budget before you, I want to connect the budget to LBT's strategic priorities. These 6 priorities serve as the functional pillars we use to plan, develop, evaluate, and measure the annual agency objectives. The priorities are reflected in initiatives focused on financial stability, service reliability, workforce engagement, operational excellence, technology innovation, and community transparency and engagement. In the next set of slides, I'll walk through the specific initiatives that support these outcomes and show how LBT is aligning its resources, staff effort, and operational priorities to turn the budget into action. Improving safety and service quality is multifaceted, and it's about more than just one measure. It includes how customers experience the system, how reliable our service is, how well our vehicles perform, and how we use data and feedback to make improvements. One way we are supporting this priority is through Achieving Customer Excellence, oftentimes referred to as ACE. Using design thinking, we start by looking at the service experience through the customer's eyes, empathizing with customers and employees, defining the issues they are experiencing, developing ideas, testing solutions, and making improvements. Service reliability remains one of our most important priorities. Our goal is to reduce average delays and lost service. That gives us a clear target and keeps the focus on providing highly consistent service for our customers. We will also focus on increasing customer accommodations and reducing complaints. This means listening closely to customer feedback, identifying common issues, and using that information to improve the customer experience. Vehicle reliability is a key part of improving safety and service quality. Increasing the mean distance between failures means reducing breakdowns and fewer service disruptions. We'll also complete the comprehensive operational analysis that's currently underway, taking a look at route performance, service design, customer demand, and future service needs. This work helps make sure service is aligned with how customers use the system today and where demand is headed. So we are taking action to continue ensuring financial sustainability. The goal is to act early, manage future budget pressures, and preserve flexibility before the financial challenges become harder to address. The executive leadership team supports a broader financial sustainability review that looks at revenue opportunities, expense trends, capital operating impacts, reserve exposure, and future budget pressures. This work will help us better understand key financial drivers and identify practical options going forward. We are reviewing current spending commitments to determine what remains essential, appropriately sized, and aligned with LBT's priorities. This work is not simply about cutting spending, it's about opportunity to renegotiate terms, adjust scopes, expand cooperative procurements, and reduce financial exposure. We will conduct reviews of internal processes and resource use to identify opportunities to improve how LBT delivers and supports service. Cost control is important, but it will not solve every future financial challenge we're facing. LBT will continue advancing efforts to secure stable, long-term dedicated funding to support service, capital needs, and the agency's long-term financial health. Operational improvements depend on having strong technology systems behind the scenes. These projects are not just IT upgrades, they're investments in more reliable systems and improved security. We will continue moving forward with phase 2 of the enterprise resource planning and enterprise asset management implementation that is currently underway. This work supports core business areas such as human resources, maintenance, finance, procurement, and asset management. We will transition our scheduling software to the cloud. This will improve reliability, scalability, and long-term support for one of LBT's core operating systems. We will complete targeted upgrades to onboard bus technology to help us collect better service and ridership data and make more informed data decisions. We will continue strengthening LBT's network and infrastructure. This will help improve system performance while reducing risk and maintaining secure, reliable connectivity. Now we'll briefly focus on how LBT is investing in employee preparedness, development, wellness, and engagement, so employees have the support, tools, and communication they need to do their work well. We will continue strengthening LBT's emergency preparedness and response program. This includes work that's underway for special events operations planning, emergency operations planning, and continuity of operations planning. These plans help make sure employees understand their roles and that LBT is prepared to respond during major events, emergencies, or service disruptions. We will expand employee development programs, including the customer care framework and supervisor training. This supports stronger frontline leadership and better tools for employees who interact with customers and support daily operations. We will also expand the employee health and wellness program. Supporting employee health and wellness helps with morale, attendance, retention, and the overall work environment. We will host employee engagement town hall meetings to improve communication and give employees more opportunities to hear updates, ask questions, and provide feedback. We will also work with our ATU partners on a mentor program. This will support employee development, knowledge sharing, and stronger connections between experienced employees and newer employees. In fiscal year 27, we will advance several initiatives to help make the overall experience more reliable, convenient, and comfortable for customers. We'll continue moving forward with the next procurement of 25 new battery electric buses and also the final phase of battery electric bus charging infrastructure. These investments are important because the buses and charging infrastructure move together. We need the vehicles, but we also need the infrastructure in place to support them. The dedicated maintenance task force will continue looking at vehicle failures and the causes behind them so we can reduce breakdowns and improve service reliability. We will also upgrade to more efficient water vessel engines to help manage long-term maintenance and operating costs. We will continue improving customer amenities, including lighting, benches, and shelters that make waiting for the bus safer and more comfortable. We'll continue to support today's officially launched regional open payment implementation. Thank you, David. And expand fare payment options on Aqualink and Aquabus and begin procurement for the replacement of fare blocks. We have a number of initiatives to help make a LBT service easier to understand, easier to use, and easier to evaluate. We will deploy digital displays to improve onboard customer communication and support better wayfinding. This project came out of the ACE Effective Communication team and is a good example of using design and thinking to making the system easier to use. We'll also continue upgrading wayfinding materials at the transit gallery, bus stops, and across the service area. We'll also focus on outreach to increase weekend ridership and how we communicate these options to customers in the community. We will continue mystery call, customer survey, and net promoter score measurement to help us understand how LBT customers experience the service. We will complete customer alert improvements so customers receive clear and timely information where service is affected. After I'm done with the presentation, we'll have a pop quiz just to make sure everybody's with me. Okay. So next we're going to provide the details, right, what everybody's been waiting for of the revenue, operating, and capital expenses. So we'll start with the graphic that you're familiar with. So this is the speedometer graphic that shows the subsidy revenue by category and how actual receipts are coming in. Each section represents that different subsidy revenue source, and the colored portion shows actual revenue received. County funding shown in blue is fully on plan and at 100% of budget. So state funding, as you know, is where we've seen the largest gap. This reflects the economic pressure at the state level and results in an estimated $6 million shortfall this year compared to budget. Federal revenue is slightly above budget due to the timing of federal drawdowns, and local revenue is slightly ahead of budget. So overall, for this fiscal year 26, subsidy revenue is at 96% of budget. Said another way, LBT is receiving about 4% less subsidy revenue than budgeted. With that context in mind, we'll look at the proposed 27 operating revenue, where we're strategically using prior year accumulated funds to balance the budget. So this table can be found on page 48 of the budget book. LBT's proposed operating budget for fiscal year 27 is $145.9 million. This compares to $139.8 million in fiscal year 26. This represents a 4.4% increase. LA County subsidy revenue is our largest source of operating revenue, and this totals $51.7 million, or just over 35% of total operating revenue. This funding comes from local sales tax initiatives, including Propositions A and C and Measure M and R. State assistance totals $36.1 million, or almost 25% of the operating budget. This funding comes primarily through the Transportation Development Act. Federal funding totals $13 million, or about 9% of the operating budget. Finally, the amount highlighted in yellow reflects the planned use of prior year accumulated funds, including operating reserves and deferred revenue totaling more than $19 million. It's important to note that these are one-time use of funds, and they will not be available in the future years. This was not a new budget solution. It was part of our longer-term financial strategy developed as federal COVID relief funds were being managed. The CEO and I made the strategic decision to spread those funds over multiple years so LBT would have resources available after the one-time funding ended. As you may recall, this approach was shared with the board through the 5-year forecast discussion in fiscal year 24, the board retreat. This strategy is what allows us to balance the budget while maintaining current service level. This pie chart provides a visual summary of our operating revenue sources and can be found on page 48 of the budget book. Rather than focusing on each line item again, the main point of this slide is to show the overall funding mix that supports the operating budget. As shown here, LBT relies heavily on subsidy revenues, particularly county and state funding to support day-to-day transit operations. This is important because many of the revenue sources are outside of our control and are impacted by sales tax performance, state allocations, federal funding cycles, and broader economic conditions. So while the operating budget remains balanced, the revenue side has limited flexibility. We'll now shift from operating revenue, where the money comes from, to how those resources are used. Fiscal year 27 operating expenditures total $145.9 million. This pie chart shows LBT's 27 operating expenses by major category: wages, fringe benefits, and other expenses. This chart can be found on page 52 of the budget book. The operating budget begins with the strategic service plan. This plan identifies the service LBT intends to provide, which determines the number of vehicles needed, and then the number of employees required to operate, maintain, supervise, and support that service. The key takeaway is that LBT is a people-intensive agency. We are in the people business, both in the service we provide to customers and in the employees who make that service possible. Total operating expenditures are $145.9 million, which is an increase of $6.1 million over fiscal year 26. Wages and benefits make up about 70% of the operating budget, while all other expenses make up about 30%. This reflects the staffing required to deliver the service identified in the strategic service plan, including operators, mechanics, customer service folks, supervisors, and support teams. The largest increase this year is in wages, followed by other expenses. Overall, most of LBT's operating budget is invested in the people needed to deliver the service our customers depend on. This slide shows LBT's fiscal year 27 operating expenditures by core business category. This chart can be found on page 59 of the budget book. LBT organizes its operating budget into 6 major categories that reflect the core functions needed to run the transit system. These categories are shown in the pie chart with their corresponding dollar amounts. This shows where the operating budget is allocated and what the major cost drivers are across the agency. In simple terms, this is where the money goes. As expected, the largest share goes to transit service delivery, which supports the daily cost of providing service to our customers. The second largest share goes to transit asset management, which supports the maintenance, reliability, and availability of our buses, facilities, infrastructure, fuel, and parts. The next slides provide a closer look at each core business category. Transit asset management accounts for $40 million, or 27% of total operating expenditures. This chart can be found on page 61 of the budget book. This category supports the assets that keep service moving. The largest share is vehicle maintenance at $23 million. Infrastructure and utilities account for $8 million. Fuel total $6 million, and warehouse expenses total $1.3 million. Transit service delivery is the largest core business category and totals $75 million, or over 51% of LBT's total operating expenditures. This category includes the daily cost of providing service to our customers. Daily operations total $63.3 million. This represents the direct cost of putting service on the street each day. System security is $4.3 million. Service planning and training together total approximately $3.5 million. Dialift and Aqua services make up the remaining $3.6 million in this category. Overall, transit service delivery is increasing by 5.2% compared with the fiscal year 26 budget. Customer experience includes customer relations and communications and the transit customer amenities groups. This category totals $5.2 million. These resources support the work that shapes how customers experience LBT. The customer relations and communication budget is $3.6 million. The transit customer amenities budget is $1.6 million. Transit customer amenities also works with the capital program for larger customer amenity improvements, which will be discussed later in the presentation. Corporate risk management details can be found starting on page 107 of the budget. This category totals $7.8 million, or 5.4% of LBT's total operating expenditures. This reflects an increase of approximately $1.2 million, driven by rising costs in areas such as insurance, workers' compensation, liability claims, legal costs, and legal settlements. Overall, corporate risk management helps protect LBT's financial position while supporting a safer operating environment for employees, customers, and the public. Information technology supports the systems, networks, and infrastructure LBT relies on for daily operations. It can be found on page 111 of the budget book. For fiscal year 27, this category totals $6.8 million. This investment supports core technology needs across the agency, including cybersecurity, software systems, and the tools employees use to manage service and business operations. Internal business functions can be found on page 113 of the budget book. These functions help ensure that LBT can manage public funds responsibly, support employees, maintain accountability, meet reporting requirements, and provide the internal structure needed to deliver service effectively. This category totals $11.5 million, or 7.9% of LBT's operating budget. At 7.9% of the total operating budget, internal business functions remain a relatively small share of the overall budget. This reflects LBT's continued focus on keeping administrative costs controlled while still providing the leadership oversight and support needed to run the agency. The balanced operating budget charts can be found on page 64 of the budget book. And these pie charts provide a side-by-side view of LBT's operating revenues and LBT's operating expenditures. They show the balance between revenues and expenditures being presented today. For fiscal year 27, total operating revenues and total operating expenditures are both $145.9 million. While the operating budget supports the resources needed to provide service each day, the capital program focuses on long-term investments. This includes fleet, infrastructure, technology, and customer amenities. The capital budget overview begins on page 121. This diagram shows our capital analysis process used to evaluate and prioritize projects. Projects are reviewed based on how well they support LBT's capital needs. LBT uses a three-tier prioritization approach. Essential projects are funded first because they are necessary to maintain service, safety, infrastructure, or regulatory compliance. Priority projects support core business needs and are funded next. Value-added projects are important and are funded as resources allow. Capital investments also help manage future operating costs by improving reliability, reducing unplanned repairs, and supporting more efficient operations. Overall, this process helps direct limited capital dollars to the projects that create the greatest value. The capital program funding sources can be found on page 129. Total capital funding is projected at $41.9 million. The largest share comes from the federal government at 26.5 million. State funding is projected at 1.5 million, and local funding totals 5.6 million. The budget also includes 8.3 million in reallocated funds, which allows LBT to redirect available resources to support current capital projects. This pie chart shows how the capital program is allocated across major investment categories and can be found on page 127. The largest share of capital funding is directed towards maintaining assets. In practical terms, this means rehabbing LBT's buses to keep them in a state of good repair to avoid more costly repairs later. The second largest category is fleet replacement at just over $13 million. Together, these two categories represent about 76% of the capital program. The remaining capital funding supports modernizing facilities, enhancing customer amenities, improving safety and security, and optimizing technology. This picture highlights LBT's charging station expansion project. LBT will invest $29 million in 2027 and $19 million in 2028 to expand charging capacity to support up to 125 charging stations. This project is essential to supporting LBT's transition to zero-emission fleet. As more battery electric buses are added, the charging infrastructure must be in place to support daily operations. These pictures highlight LBT's customer amenities capital improvements. LBT is advancing improvements along Cherry Avenue, Atlantic Avenue, and Long Beach Boulevard, including new shelters, lighting, and real-time arrival signage. This project will improve 158 bus stops, including 33 new shelters, with completion anticipated in 2027. LBT is also moving forward with the Transit Gallery Improvement Project, with design work underway for upgraded digital signage, customer information systems, lighting, and structural improvements across 8 shelters. Here's the side-by-side view of LBT's fiscal year 27 capital funding sources and capital project allocations. Together, the charts show the balanced capital program being presented today, totaling $41.9 million. As we come to the end of the fiscal year 27 budget presentation, the executive leadership team wants to take a moment to recognize the people behind the numbers. A budget like this does not come together by accident. It takes a lot of coordination, thoughtful discussion, careful review, and good old-fashioned teamwork across the agency. The balanced operating and capital budgets presented today reflect LBC's strategic priorities, our available resources, and the commitment of employees who worked hard to support this process. On this slide, I want to recognize the people who helped bring the budget together. Special thanks to LBT's executive leadership team, the department managers and staff for their collaboration, expertise, and dedication throughout the budget process. Also want to give special recognition to Treasurer Ashley Liang and the Finance and Budget Department for leading and coordinating this effort, along with the employees who contributed thorough financial analysis, operational planning, communication support, administrative coordination, and budget preparation. Particular shout out to Kevin Schrader and the incomparable Jen Flores, who this presentation would not be possible without. The development of this budget was truly an agency-wide effort, and I'm grateful for the professionalism, commitment, and teamwork shown by everyone involved. Long Beach Transit is proud to have received the Government Finance Officers Association Distinguished Budget Presentation Award for the 2026 budget. This marks the 9th consecutive year LBT has received this recognition. The award recognizes budget documents that serve as a policy document, financial plan, operations guide, and communications tool. This is an achievement we can all be proud of and reflects the work of many employees across LBT who contribute to the budget process each year. This concludes today's presentation. Today, the executive leadership team is requesting the board of directors to adopt LBT's fiscal year 27 operating and capital budgets The team is available for questions now. Thank you for your attention and staying with me during this presentation.
Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the recommendation? Okay. Awesome. Are there any public comments? Besides the one that we got digitally. Discussion from the board. Okay, Director Angeles, go first.
Great presentation. Thank you very much to the staff and all those who did amazing work to bring it to the board and bring it to the state. And on behalf, obviously, of people of Long Beach, thank you very much. A very thorough presentation and put together. Just for my edification and clarification, Governor Newsom's last budget was announced with respect to May revise. And one of the things that he had announced was going back to your capital improvement expenditures was some specifically called out Long Beach downtown sidewalk improvements, but for what I believe was $1.6 million or something like that. Hold on, it looks like 6.7 million to create a pedestrian priority area with new sidewalks in downtown Long Beach. How does that interplay with respect to the bus shelters and the projects that we have? And from the city's perspective, can we get any of that money? Since the governor is clearly, taking a victory lap on it.
In terms of LBT's role in that, I think it's more of a collaboration. There are some capital projects that we're going to be working on in parallel, like our TVIC program or capital program. But I believe that $6.7 million is specifically for City of Long Beach, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, great question. And there's a few different things going on. So we have the First Street Pedestrian Corridor project, which includes some improvements that the city led through Public Works is working collaboratively with Long Beach Transit on to improve the area along First Street and place new shelters there. So part of your answer or question is yes, there is funding to improve some of those areas, but there's also funding being brought through Long Beach Transit to improve that. The more recent item that you're talking about, we still need to figure out how that money is going to be spent on which specific areas. That's all being developed now, but it will certainly help improve some of the transit and getting people around in the downtown area. We also have a number of other projects. We call it walkable corners. That's going to help facilitate more movement in and around the downtown.
Hello, hello. Okay. Any other questions? Christopher, did you have something? Okay.
Well, thank you for a really great presentation. I have 6 questions. So just can you help us understand? I think you're forecasting sort of flat sales tax revenue, which I think is conservative, good. But how does it work on your team if economic conditions deteriorate during the year after this budget is approved? Sort of, you come back to the board, or what happens in that? Hopefully, doesn't happen, but possible event. We talked about no fare increase, and I think that the goal is to keep fares low. But we had talked to Ken and previously about conducting fare study in the year ahead so that there were options available to the board for 2028. There's been so much inflation over the last 6 years. I think the goal is a noble one, but that $1.25 goes less and less every year, and our fares are below metros. But then the way we do fares is also different than metro, the way they've kind of replaced passes with the daily cap and the weekly cap. So I think the board wanted to know, sort of, even if there's no increase this year, like how do we get ready for the future? you alluded, Lisa, about, paying attention to service planning, but where is kind of STAR 2.0 and what are we going to see during this budget year in terms of service planning? And we had talked a while ago at the retreat about like that service that has pretty poor headways. Does that still work for the company? And the service where we have really good ridership, could we get A++ ridership where you don't have to pay attention to the schedule because every 4 minutes, a bus is going to come. No debt policy. Just explain that to me. I get that for operating, but like at the city and at other governments, capital projects are financed. So explain to me why we don't use pretty cheap, municipal debt in order to finance capital projects when the cost of construction goes up so aggressively. You've spent time and money on ERP. Can you tell us like what we're going to see during the next 12 months in terms of that coming online? And then I just really want to understand the 19 million on the slide. It's referred to as reserves, but that's savings or COVID money that's now being purposed. The agency is still going to have emergency reserves maintained, right? So can you explain that a little bit?
All right. So one thing I do want to just highlight is that there will be, when our CEO president is back, he will be having more thoughtful, robust discussions on things that you mentioned, specifically as it relates to what does that mean for our fare restructuring, service restructuring, and potential impact for that. Specifically looking at our COA analysis, we are anticipating to identify certain routes that are performing very high and incorporating some of the comments and outreach feedback that we received from our outreach efforts. I believe, so I think there were 6 items, but I think 4 out of those 6 items will be discussed separately when our CEO has returned. In regards to the ERP, I can ask Pretty George to come up to provide a quick overview of that, and then go from there.
Okay, I think it should be on now. Okay. In regards to the ERP update, we actually, June 15th of this, about 15 days, we will be live with the HCM portion, so the human resources portion. That means our employees now will be able to see their paychecks online. They'll be able to do their time off. Managers will be able to manage it from that perspective online. The second phase will kick off right after that, which will be the actual financials. So what you just saw today that Lisa presented, where the team has put significant amount of work into doing, we will be able to do that in a newer system in July of 2027. So we are in that second phase right now, kicking off and preparing our teams. Mostly what we're doing now is data cleanup, validation sets, and preparing our team to get ready to start that implementation.
You know, the nice thing about 6 questions is it gives people a chance to think. So thank you. So question number 1 on the projections. So our budget projections are based on LA metros. And so they use a combination of UCLA and Beacon Economics, I think, to come up with it. And so they send out a funding mark package. You probably get them for the city appropriate funds, and that's what we base our budget on. 9 out of 10 years, they're very conservative, and a little more money comes in, and that carryover goes into the next year. 1 out of 10 years, it's the reverse, where the estimates have been too positive, and they will knock on the door for how are we going to manage that. So that's where the projections come from. Second, the FAIR study, right, has been initiated looking at different mixes and what are the different things we can do. In terms of no debt, so Long Beach Transit has a long history of not mortgaging our future and paying as we go. So Our capital programs and our government relations groups do the hard work to get the grants and to have the funding secured before we buy things. In terms of the reserves, the 19 million will not eat into our 25% contingency reserve, so that will remain. Thank you.
Also want to add that I did have a conversation with Ken, and there is going to be a board meeting in July, a special meeting, just really digging into what are those options going to be for the future of Long Beach Transit. So, all right, Director Angeles. Yes.
Can I just follow up on the projection aspect of it? Everybody's been talking about these Olympics and how much money it's going to bring to the region, and Long Beach having 14 events and et cetera, and everybody seems to be excited about the permanent either infrastructure or shares of the dollars that the Olympics is bringing. Is any of that in any way, can we capitalize on any of that in some way, or work with the committee, or work with the city, or work with the organizers to see how we can capture some of that in terms of the spike of what they anticipate as permanent revenues for as a result of the Olympics?
I think what we can do is definitely have discussions with the city. What does that look like? There are legacy projects that we're working through with Metro on. And then there's also a different component that is very specific to public transportation, where Metro is kind of leading as the one who not only helps to kind of coordinate and manage what type of transit services that will be available. And what we're seeing, very similar to FIFA World Cup, is that it looks like it's going to be at a reimbursable rate. So whatever service we're going to be providing, we're going to get that kind of funding from LA Metro, from the efforts that they're doing at the state and federal level. In terms of what does that actually mean, are there additional revenues that we can potentially see? I think that could be an ongoing discussions with the LACMOA, so all the LA County municipal operator agencies, and really kind of figuring out what the next steps are.
Any additional discussions? Okay, James.
Nope, maybe. Oh, how about now? Great. So first, yes, thank you so much to you and the staff and everyone that helped prepare it. That was a great presentation. Loved also the introduction of all the things that we were able to do with the dollars last year. It was important to highlight the Net Promoter Score and the work that we did to get the grant awarded funds. So really good to see all that first as well, because I think we'll see that again, hopefully next year, with some of the successes that we're talking about. I guess all I was wanting to clarify is some of the program, the fleet modernization. I thought that sounded really good. The one I wasn't so clear on was some of the investments. It said expanded employee programs, just kind of what that was again, because I think we curved by it, but I didn't get the full detail of the enhanced or expanded. I think it was employee mentorship program. I believe with ATU as well, but just some of the additional detail on the employee enhancements.
Sure. Some of the things we mentioned in terms of employee development was the CARE framework, which I'm sure Mike will jump out at me and tell me. So the customer care framework, that's for the operators. Also, we have an ACE team working on a supervisor training program they're developing. We also have an expansion of our employee wellness program. We also have a partnership that we're developing with ATU in terms of a mentorship program.
Director Sutton.
Thank you. And thank you, Lisa and company, for providing such an excellent report. If my eyes were closed, it was because I was thinking. So I'll add a little extra wind to this presentation. I want to encourage Long Beach Transit to work with Metro on shuttle fees for the Olympic Games.
and if we're going to do anything for Super Bowl and any special events in the future, because $1.75 just doesn't cut it. And I mean, if everybody doesn't get on the bus, I'll be surprised. For $1.75, when other cities are charging $100, $200 for transit, 2 games. So, you know, Boston, others are doing it. So I think we really need to look at this closely and be there commercially for these games and to provide a fair price, but also a price that benefits Long Beach and its residents. To that end, I'd also like to suggest that as we look at fares in the future, that maybe we provide for water taxi service, for example, which seems to be more of an optional service, perhaps, for most, that Long Beach residents get a lower price or the same price that's currently now in operation, but everybody else is charged a little bit more. I think this would offset some of the costs of this service. It is a great feature for Long Beach. It really shows off Long Beach well, and I think it benefits the city as well as the residents and their visitors. In terms of customer amenities, this has always been a big thing for us on the board. Is there's nothing like walking to my bus stop in the morning and seeing a really nice bus stop. I get on the 173 right across the street, right there at Cal State Long Beach. But I look over and my bus stop is great because I'm going to go northbound. But the one that's going to go westbound looks a little tired. So it looks a little like an afterthought, like, oh, let's put a bench here and we'll call it a day. So I really encourage you to look at these reserve dollars that we have, and if there's reserve money at the end of the year, allocate some of that for customer amenities to really accelerate this this feature, because we're got to put our best foot forward here for the games. We've got to have the amenities. We've got to have a reason for people to want to go on the bus, and having a great looking bus stop gives a perception of security, cleanliness, shelter above, comfort, all the things that we want to provide our visitors, but also all of our residents. I'll stop there. Oh, and my last point, that if we do a fair structure or restructure, perhaps, that we look at an automatic increase, modest, every 3 to 4 years. So we're not bringing this back to the board, and it's painful to change. We know that, but we also know that inflation is here to stay. I mean, I can remember as a kid a 15-cent hamburger, at McDonald's. So there you go. Anyway, thank you. Great presentation, and we look forward to seeing you again up here with great ideas. Thanks.
Great. Any more feedback, Director Kemp?
Thank you, Madam Chair. James said McDonald's wasn't around when you were a kid. I don't know where he got that from. Thank you for the presentation. Fantastic as always. Just a couple of notes. I guess I want to say to my fellow directors that, we do have, I believe, unless council tells me otherwise, the opportunity and the authority to make motions and vote on the things that we're suggesting staff go back and look at and consider. A lot of times, they're hamstrung by things that we have the opportunity to direct. And so I want to invite us and challenge us to, consider things like, fair increases and what that looks like and what that should look like, and have some hard discussions as the people who have been put in these seats to, offer, in fact, direction. For example, fare increases could be tied to shelters. If you do it every 3 years, a certain amount of it could be tied to these amenities. And so we can have these kind of creative discussions and offer that direction. Specific to shelters, yeah, I wonder what opportunity we have today to recommend that funding be shifted in a way that enhances our shelters throughout the city or at some level. Also wanted to ask a few questions about advertising, promotion, sponsorships, and other things. I noticed that there is a reduction under promotions and sponsorships, as well as media. And I wanted to ask if we could get more information about why that is.
Let's see. So a couple of things. We have gone to the board, I believe is this year, with our shelter program, Cherry, Long Beach, and a couple of other streets. So I believe we're in the process of kind of going through the process phase of developing concepts and identifying which shelters and locations will receive those treatments. So we'll be more than happy to come back with that. In terms of advertisement and sponsorship, I need to go back to.
It's on page 104.
So when we developed our promotions or basically our expenditure, what we wanted to do was really identify where we are making most impact. And so on the advertisement, we worked with Mike and his team to identify where are we getting the most impact for our dollar, right? And so and basically going back and I think we had an inventory list of sponsorships and promotional things that we have done, and we try to align that with the initiatives that were presented to you today. And so I think that's how we kind of came up with that. I believe it was less than $25,000 we've identified as potential savings, but we really felt that that will still allow us to have a brand recognition and still support some of the organizations that we have done this past year. Any other? You have a.
Is this on? Okay. So thank you for that, Deputy CEO. Part of that too is that we had identified for fiscal year 26, the current year, some events that we anticipated to do that we were not able to do, and we decided we will not do. And this is not going to reduce our effort next year. There were some larger scale events that we were looking at doing this year that we just can't because of staff resources. And so we took those out of the budget, knowing that the next fiscal year is also going to be equally busy. So that's a piece of that. The other piece of that is when we came into this year, if you recall, months ago, you approved a contract for our creative services. So we had built a budget for creative services based on what I thought the contract cost would be, and we saw savings from that, from what we had budgeted. When all was said and done, we adopted a contract, so we were able to reduce some of the expenses there based on the savings of what we knew we were actually going to spend, because that contract is on a calendar year as opposed to a fiscal year. So I had to assume 6 months, which now I say, okay, I know exactly what this is going to cost. We had realized some savings in there. So that's where those little kind of nips and tucks happened. We're able to trim the budget a little bit for some overall savings.
I love the nips and the tucks. I would like to see us do more sponsorship. I don't know if this is the appropriate time to make recommendations that spending in sponsorships be increased, but I do think that I've seen with the Port of Long Beach, for example, which was once hated throughout the region, a dramatic increase in love after they began to invest in community grants and sponsorships. I know we do a good job in the community. We're out there, we're present, we're at lots of events, but I also know that our sponsorship levels are well intended in some cases, but often not enough to move the needle for the organization that might be asking for the funding. I know that's not a product of a lack of desire to help organizations out. I think that's a product of the funding. And so I think that is juice that is worth the squeeze, especially if we're talking about, I guess I should be talking to you, especially if we're talking about the possibility of increasing fees and the things that, other things that, other times when we'll be going out to the community and asking them for something. Having those type of investments and community partners that we will be asking to be supportive of our efforts in the future, I think is an investment worth making. So, I will come back to that. Just a couple of other things. I love the idea of a Long Beach resident discount or an increase for everybody else, and we get the regular fare for water taxi and special programs and events. The Director Sutton recommended. I wondered if you could, speak to the possibility of doing something like that.
I believe the chair and the CEO, when there's a meeting in July, I think all the various scenarios will be discussed.
So that is correct. So in July, we're going to have this discussion, right? What are those options that we have, whether it be fare increase, other options that we need? So that's going to be a whole meeting just on that in July.
Okay, but we're being asked to accept this budget today, correct?
Correct.
And so we're talking about 2028?
Okay.
So
this is 2027 budget.
right. So there's no opportunity for us to make adjustments in this before we vote on it?
I mean, Vince, we can have a discussion, but we'll have Vince.
At this time of the year, with a fiscal year budget, if you don't adopt the budget in, the next month or so, what happens often with large organizations is you see it on the federal level, of a continuing resolution. They can, there's short-term borrowing that can occur and so on and so forth. So if you don't adopt the budget in the next 60 days or so, that's probably what you're facing. There's another large organization that's looking at potentially adopting a budget in July, I'm aware of. And so it's certainly a possibility, but the expectation is that you adopt the budget and have the conversation about operational matters with the CEO about where you'd like things done and tweaks that you'd like to make. But in terms of getting into the weeds and making operational changes at this stage, I would suggest respectfully that should have occurred much earlier, as in prior month, as in April.
Okay, and we've seen all of this before. Is that right? This document has been presented to us before, and all this information has been presented before.
I mean, it was presented to the executive team and it was agendized.
Oh, I see. So I haven't seen this before. Is that right? So there's no way that I would have had an opportunity to make any of these recommendations, correct?
Correct.
Right. So if I wanted to make a recommendation on the 2027 budget, the executive team has had an opportunity. I'm not sure, and it's possible I missed it. There was an email or information. I'm not saying that I haven't been negligent about looking at my emails in the past, and I'm ready to accept the blame if it's mine. Is that what's happened? That an opportunity for me to look at this and make recommendations about the budget came and went, and I missed it?
No, this is the opportunity to have that discussion, to approve the budget. As we move forward, if we want more changes, like specific details, we go into and discussing with our CEO or additional information on how that funding is being used.
So is it the expectation that the executive committee cook up something that the rest of us just say yes to?
So no, we just have a meeting where it's presented that this is the information that's going to be presented to the board. We get it a little bit earlier than the rest of the board.
And I'm not suggesting that anything, malfeasant or nefarious has gone on or that the executive committee doesn't do a great job. You do, and I appreciate the extra time that you spend in those positions. I just wanted to clarify that, I didn't accidentally miss something as I'm wasting y'all's time talking, but since I didn't, I don't feel like I'm wasting your time. I do want to make a motion. May I make a motion to increase a particular funding item? Is that appropriate, Mr. Attorney?
Yeah, so, this is a public meeting, we follow Brown Act and parliamentary procedure, so if you make a motion and it gets a second, and there's public comment on the motion, and then there's a discussion on the motion, then there's a vote, that can all happen. So, yeah, I mean, it can be done.
If it,
Thank you, Chair. This has happened before, right? Where the board does not get an opportunity to discuss the budget. I don't know if it was last year or the previous year, we had to continue this meeting because I made a motion to continue to have more conversations about it. The CEO said that he would bring up the budget much earlier, March, April, to the board, and that did not happen. So another possibility is to meet again to have a conversation about the budget, but then that's going to place more work on the staff when we already agreed that we would not meet in June.
well, with respect, and certainly no disrespect to our CEO and as a staffer, I'm very sympathetic to the hard work that has gone into this document and the work that you all do on a continuous basis to keep the organization going and thriving. But I also take my position as a member of this board seriously. And if we don't have any authority or opportunity to make recommendations and changes to the budget and the way that we handle operations here, then there's no point in me being on this board or any of us being on this board. We can watch these presentations from Zoom at home. So I don't want to extend the time or pressure on staff by asking for a continuing resolution to make the budget go forward. And I appreciate the clarification on prior discussions, but I would like to know from maybe the chair or council or someone, the deputy director, what would it look like if we extended this so we could have some of some conversation about what's been discussed behind the rail and try to get it back to you all in time without undue pressure?
Sure. From my perspective, I think the board, in order for our agency to move forward, recognizing that we don't have a meeting in June, so we could start preparing what we need to get done for next fiscal year, my recommendation is that we move the budget forward. I do believe that, and I need to go back to my notes, I thought that we did have an April, maybe an executive committee meeting to kind of go through the budget itself, the different initiatives and strategies and concerns that's coming forward with the forecast that we are seeing. And I believe based on that discussion with the CEO and the executive body was that this budget was developed to reflect that. I know there are certain elements of this budget that may are now there are questions in regards to that. And I think there's room for us to go back and see if we can make some tweaks. But I think in general, this is a solid and balanced budget that is being presented to the board for approval.
Then I'll go with Director Rawlings, and then I'll.
Madam Chair, I'm sorry.
Sure.
I'm happy to wait, but
Okay.
at some point I would like to make a motion.
Okay, great.
Would you like me to wait?
There is. Who's the first? Yeah, so you have to
In that
amend.
case, Thank you for that.
So, okay, what is your motion?
I stand corrected. Then I would like to make a substitute motion when the time is appropriate.
Okay. All right. Well, let's finish discussion and then we'll go to your substitute if it's accepted.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Director. I share a lot of the same concerns. Now seeing the process play out as it being my first time on the executive committee, I also agree, just like last year, this feels a little bit like, Groundhog Day, deja vu, absolutely. In part because that happened again during some of the discussions with the CEO. This is why we are now having a far more in-depth discussion extremely early this time around. The first meeting of the new opportunity that we have to talk about next year is in July and is a very meaty discussion to make sure this doesn't happen again. And for us, it was like, this happened twice in a row. It's time to actually do what you're talking about here. With all due respect, for the sake of today, the reason why you want to make your motion is so that, yes, we have an opportunity to look at this a little bit more, but specifically for sponsorships, which is great, which is an increase in our spending. I think the pain on the organization and the risk that would put the organization into in terms of just the ability to operate and move forward versus the reward that we're going to get out of that specifically for today, I don't believe is there. If it was we have a $20 million shortfall and we're not quite sure how to operate that, yeah, let's not move forward. But for at least the next year, we have a balanced budget. I don't believe passing it today completely stops us. I mean, this is not Rosetta Stone that we're locking in for forever. We have the opportunity still throughout the rest of the year to make some changes. And I would heavily encourage us to spend our very next meeting that we have with ideas. I've been very quiet today, which I know is out of the ordinary for me. All of these, Director, I have 3 pages worth of notes coming just from today, but also from when this was agendized and we had several days to look at it before the actual meeting with ideas for when we have an actual discussion. I do think for next time, it would have been helpful if the executive committee had provided probably more heads up saying, hey, look, here's the purpose of today's meeting. Yes, there's going to be some stuff that we still need to talk about. At the next meeting, that's what it's for. But those are my thoughts on where we're at. I share your frustrations, and I think for the sake of the staff and the ability for us to move forward, I would recommend we stick with the existing plan and we work really hard next year, starting with our very next meeting, to make sure that we think about some more proactive ways to do this process.
And then, yes, Director Sutton.
I too express some angst about getting the budget in 1 month and having to decide on it. I think that for particular parts of the budget, it would be very helpful to have previews. This is what we're going to do in this area in the months earlier than May, just out of respect to the board. And it is a big budget, and $149 million is a lot of money, and it's important that the public has a chance to respond to it as well as the board. However, in this particular case, I would recommend that we do approve the budget. And if we're going to make a motion, that we look closely at the motion, draft it well, give Long Beach Transit board staff a chance to respond to the motion prior to it being presented, so we can get their input and craft a well-written motion with the direction that we want to go. I think that is respectful of the staff and respects the process in general, and we get as board members what we think we need to get out of the motion. So in voting for this today, it doesn't change, it gives the staff the opportunity to move ahead. It's still, we as board members retain the right to look at the budget again come August, July, come July, and say, hey, we want to revisit the customer experience, or we want to revisit what you're going to do for employees, or we want to, you get the idea. So just because this is a plan, and the plan can change based on the desires and needs of this transit agency and its riders. So thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. Director Kemp, I know you mentioned you wanted to.
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. And I certainly appreciate all of the feedback and the expertise of my fellow directors here, especially Director Sutton with his experience at Metro. I appreciate knowing that, and just want to clarify that we will have a chance in July to revisit these expenditures and make recommendations on increases in areas that we think are appropriate. Is that correct?
Yes, we will have a discussion about the budget, and we will make sure not only talk about the budget, this budget, but also the budget for next year. And any, because one of the things that we've been talking about for a really long time, it's like, we know that there's a fiscal cliff coming. And we've been telling, we've been hearing it, and now this is gonna be the time where we get the options. Like, the team has been preparing options for us to look at. How do those options, what options as the board do we wanna take with all that information? And it's gonna be a very lengthy meeting.
Great. And just to be clear, I'm interested in providing recommendations and direction, not just having a discussion. So I appreciate that. And if that is forthcoming, I will not be moving forward with a substitute motion. But I do want to say a couple of things. It is unacceptable that we asked for advance notice for a review of this budget, and it did not happen. And we can address, how to address that, offline. But it is, in my view, our primary function to review and approve this budget. It is the power that we have been bestowed by these appointments. It is our responsibility to our constituents and the people in this city. And to not have the ability to do that really does defang every director that wasn't involved in the discussion with the executive group. I also think that, we need to prioritize the things that matter most to the riders. And I've heard them over the time that I've been here from the one who rides the most behind this rail. I think that's Director Norve. And I see people out on the streets, experiencing the rider experience. And I'm personally frustrated if that's not coming through, that as a director, I didn't have time to look at this. So, a well-written motion, giving staff time to reflect and review, the same time to reflect and review that's being considered for staff should be considered for directors.
Great, thank you. And I hear your frustration. And Jen, can you let me know when the budget was posted on, that was available for the board to look at?
I mean, it was on Friday.
Was it on
when
Friday?
I posted, and then obviously to the public, as Deputy CEO you said, it went to the public on May 14th, and it was pushed on our social media. So the public got to see the book on May 14th. And then staff did present to the board, I believe in February, the budget process, where we said when it was going to be presented to the board, when it was going to be presented to executive committee.
Great, and I do see a couple more comments, so I'm going to go with Director Norve, and then Director Rawlings, and then Director Kemp.
Thank you, Chair. Director Kemp, I would not feel comfortable moving forward without listening to your substitute motion, because I think your suggestions or recommendations to review all this before it's approved is much more important than approving it right now, if you're uncomfortable. So I'm with you. I'm very frustrated as well. The the proposed budget book that the executive team received was literally the day before, and you see how long it is. There's a problem with communication or management of these budgets because again, every year since I've been on this board, it's the same thing. And we talked about, I don't know, again, I apologize. I don't know if it's last year or the previous year, that the public would be informed and have conversations about the budget, not just informed of when the budget was coming out. And that didn't happen again. And this was a huge, this became significant because the CEO wanted, just like we're hearing from the presenters, they wanted it approved right away. That's why we extended, we had another meeting because the board did not have an opportunity to review the budget.
Director Norvay, if I may, it was because we didn't have quorum at that meeting because people were on vacation. So it
That's
wasn't-
right, that's right. But my concerns, and I think there were some other folks on here who are present, who actually did not also feel comfortable voting for the budget, even if we did have quorum. So yeah, I would not feel comfortable. If you have suggestions or recommendations, I would not feel comfortable moving forward at this point.
Okay, Director Rawlings, and then we'll go with, right, Director Kemp.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I realize there's a little tension in the air right now. I want to just kind of ease, take a little exhale here. This is democracy, and it's okay that, we're asking these questions and have this conversation. I don't think that there's any bad intention by anyone, but it is our responsibility to have this conversation. Though I recognize that, we did receive this budget on Friday, or we received information on Friday. The suggestion that posting information on Friday and sharing it with the board on Friday and whatever came out on social medias equals our ability to review, discuss, and amend this budget is ridiculous. We have it now. There's a lot to review here. There's a lot to talk about here. I do public notice and have been doing public notice for about 30 years. I know the process. I know all the processes, we'll call them that. So let's not suggest that the fact that this was given to us on Friday equals the opportunity for us to discuss this budget and make decisions about how we spend our money. That isn't, it's not the same. And I appreciate again that the fact that the executives had a chance to do that, but I think the writing public deserves to know that that is not the same as an opportunity to make the changes. So given that we are going to have another opportunity, and that's on the record, to make adjustments to this budget, I'm not going to make my substitute motion, Director Anorve, surprisingly. Even though first I wasn't going to do it because I didn't think I was going to get a second, but even though I know I'm going to have a second, I hate losing. And plus I would rather we move forward in a way that doesn't increase the stress on our team and our staff. But I will say that I do want us to consider seriously increasing the budget for sponsorships and marketing. It is oftentimes the area that is first to be cut. And as soon as it's cut, for example, Coca-Cola sales start going down and the marketing doesn't get the credit for selling the Coca-Cola. But as soon as you cut that budget, Coca-Cola sales start going down and we aren't raising our fees. There's a lot. So it's important to me that we increase the budget for sponsorship so we can enhance the opportunity for our staff to touch the community in ways that we might not be at this point, or enhance the ways that we know work. We do a great job. We can do better. I think it's important that we look seriously and increase the budget for shelters. I realize that we looked at where we're going to place shelters, but I don't think we had the opportunity to increase that funding, and unless I'm wrong. Being able to pick where the shelters went and have an understanding of where they went. I remember some of the animations. I think we had animations that day, but I don't think we had a chance to increase that funding. So I would like to see us explore increases in funding there, but I won't be making those in a substitute motion.
Noted. Any additional feedback that you want to see for our discussion for July?
If I can just add to Director Kemp's, I don't know if you can trust that the increases where you want to see them will come if you vote today. Sometimes I feel like staff does not listen to the board. For example, I don't know how many times we've been talking about shelters. I don't consider Cherry Avenue, Long Beach Boulevard, Artesia Boulevard, and Atlantic the result of us having conversations about shelters. Like Director Kemp said, across the street from where he takes the bus, there's a tired shelter, and it's going westbound. I specifically asked, I think it was Mike Gold, how they make the selections, and the answer I got was not very clear, because I wanted to know where the shelters are placed. Are they placed in working class neighborhoods, or are they placed in higher end neighborhoods? And I never got an answer that I was satisfied with. So I don't believe that certain folks listen to the board. Again, we've had this conversation before about the budget not being presented to the board with enough time. Here we go again.
I appreciate your frustration, and I appreciate what you're saying, if I understand you correctly. I'm going to be honest with you. I'm staff sympathetic. I'm staff in my 9 to 5, and I don't blame staff. If I blame anybody, I blame us. I blame the directors for not directing. And so we have opportunities to do that. And, you know, if we want to talk about how we do that going forward, I think we should. I'm not really comfortable blaming the people of Long Beach Transit, the staff members who you know are out there every day doing their job, either you know at a desk or you know on the streets with the people, or you know in the maintenance yard, cleaning the bus, fixing the bus. You know these folks aren't to blame. We have one individual employee in my mind. Like to me, the structure is like I'm always as like a city manager. You know, from my city of Long Beach days, it's always like we have one employee, just like the board of trustees at Long Beach City College has one employee. So if there's a conversation to have with an employee, then it's one employee. It's not Mike Gold. It's not anybody else. From my perspective, respectfully, I don't think you mean to insult any individuals, but I want to just you know say something nice as well. About individuals as well. I've had nothing but great response from everybody on the team that I've called. I'm sure others, you know, have had the same experience. They might not always have the answers, but I think the responsibility, again, falls to us as directors to direct, to make motions, to affect policy, to affect the budget. This is a very important opportunity we have to reflect our values. The money is where our values lie. And so I don't want to stall this any further with a substitute motion. I think this conversation has been useful. I think it's been useful for us. I hope it's been useful for staff. I hope, you know, as the CEO sees this, he prepares himself for the conversation that we're going to have with him at some point, I'm sure. But I would like to move it forward. You know, I know how parliamentary procedure works. I do. I really do. I appreciate the advice. But I do want us as directors to take seriously the role. We can't have this document with respect to, statements about notice and then have a Brown Act violation by having a conversation about what we want to do with the budget before we come before this body. I think that's legally true. I might be able to have one or two conversations, but if I have a bunch of conversations about something I'm going to vote on, that's a violation of the Brown Act. So, with that, I'd like to call the question. If you please, Madam Chair, I'm prepared to vote in favor.
Great. We can call for a vote.
Chair Mejia, Vice Chair Nyorbe, Secretary Treasurer Rawlings, Director Almeida, Director Angeles, Director Kemp, Director Sutton.
The motion carries. The recommendation to adopt the fiscal year 2027 operation budget, 145 million nine. Yeah, oh yeah, you made the motion. Yeah.
The motion to discuss the.
No, you made the motion when I said, is there a motion to second? And you second the motion. Yeah. Huh? Oh, okay.
To listen to the.
Oh, okay, okay. So we're good. Okay. I was like, okay. Are we good? I think we're good. Okay. Unless anybody wants to. I can make the motion? Oh, I'll motion it. Yeah. There we go. And then we have the votes on record already, so we can just, okay, perfect. The motion carries. The recommendation to adopt the fiscal year 2027 operation budget of 145 million nine.
Point of order. Point of clarification.
Yeah.
I'm confused. So it sounds like you're saying the motion passes, but I'm not certain who made the second motion and the second if we're not recognizing the initial.
Oh, we did. We already did it in the beginning. When we have a discussion, it's already discussed.
No, I'm not talking about the discussion. The maker of the point of contention is the maker of the motion opposed the vote. And so the discussion was, can the vote move forward with that being the case? And it sounded like there was an opportunity and an invitation from council for someone else to make the motion and second the motion to have another vote on the same thing. Is that right?
Yes, so that's what General Counsel just informed me. Chair Mejia made the first, Director Almeida made the second, so we can have another vote. Oh, Angeles? Oh, the second.
Okay.
So we have the motion.
I didn't hear it all.
Oh, okay. We'll take another vote. Okay.
Chair Mejia,
Aye.
Vice Chair Nyorbe, Secretary Treasurer Rawlings, Director Almeida,
Aye.
Director Angeles, Director Kemp,
Aye.
Director Sutton.
The motion carries. The recommendation to adopt the fiscal year 2027 operation budget of 145 million $900,867 and the fiscal year of 2027 capital budget of 41,940,047 dollars is approved.
Madam Chair.
Moving on at this time.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
May I?
Yeah.
Just a point of information.
Sure.
I thought this was the case, but I checked with my good friend Claude. The maker of the motion can vote against it, just so you know.
Well, we just double checked. All right. Is there any public comment?
Yes, Chair, there is.
Okay.
Oscar?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Oscar Cancia. I'm a resident of District 3. Per the city clerk, I believe I need to be transparent that I'm also running for mayor of the city. Just wanted to take a moment to acknowledge Mr. Unyorvit. Thank you for voting no. I think that was a little rushed. And Mr. Kemp, thank you for voicing that. I think it was really important to speak to this. If the board of directors is confused about it, you can only imagine how the public is going to be. So I think it's really important to elevate that. And so just want to take a moment to thank you, both in particular, for that spirited conversation. Also want to take a moment to thank staff. Putting my executive leadership hat on, the last thing you want to do is go against staff. And so that was heard loud and clear. And so appreciation to the staff for doing what they did. That is no easy feat at all. Having been on executive leadership committees before and having dug into $1 million budgets, that was really nice. I nerd out about these things, so it was really good to be able to see it in pie charts and different drafts, et cetera. So thank you. When I hear fiscal cliff and then I hear debt from Mr. Coons, that makes me a little worried. So a shout out to Lisa Patton for making sure that we stay on budget and making sure that we're not going into debt. Outside of this organization, the city of Long Beach is projected to be in a fiscal debt of $60 to $80 million. The last thing we want to have doing is have another agency base that. So again, applause to Lisa Patton to make sure that we're not mortgaging our future. The last thing I did want to mention regarding all the things that were mentioned in terms of the presentation, this is a city of 500,000 people. And while we appreciate that this information was given to the public, fewer than, I think it was 260 some odd people visited the website, and there was one public comment delivered before the actual meeting. From a writer point of view, that's incredibly disappointing. Part of it is us, the writers. Part of it is the public, where maybe we're not as aware of this. We are in an election season, so we're being pulled in many different directions. Governorship, city council, mayor specifically. And so that, to me, I think there's really an opportunity to grow that moving forward. I would really encourage people on the board, people on the executive leadership team, and even writers. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there any additional public comment? All right. Any board requests? Yes, Director Amada.
Thanks for all the discussion, folks. And yeah, mine is more, I think, on governance. I think you're right, Director Kemp, that the issue, if it's our concern that we saw the budget presentation, that we really should review our governance practices for this like when these presentations come to us over time, much more similar, at least, to the city and smaller organizations than ours that see the budget multiple times leading up to it, but that's us governing it. So in my opinion, it's exploring at least coming up with the model for if it's a subcommittee on governance that we're re-reviewing the way that we are requesting staff to present things. But then also when that budget timeline was shown that we, push back on some of those things if we're concerned about it, just because we did see that in advance, knowing that this would be the meeting to do that. But I think my board request would be to have some governance subcommittee that we review our own standings and what we expect on timelines and expect from each other. So.
Thank you. Is there any? Yes, Director Angeles.
I think Director Sutton had raised this. Board of Supervisor Janice Hahn has already talked about it publicly, but the whole ferry thing between, all the various venues for the Olympics, where do we play in that? If there is in the future some sort of briefing for the board to at least understand what's being discussed or debated or even considered from our end, because I know it's been a lot of discussion about it in the public and among politicians, the mayor, and the Board of Supervisors.
David, anything else? Yes, Director.
So, Mr. Ewing, a point of clarification for me on the Brown Act. So if we were to tailor a motion, how many board members can work on that motion without violating the Brown Act?
Thank you. Less than a quorum. So, you know, if you have you run into the area of serial meetings if you work on the budget outside of a public meeting.
And what is the quorum for this board?
Is a seven member body or
So we're talking 3? 4 is a quorum?
yeah.
Okay.
And so you don't want to run afoul of Brown Act's prohibitions against serial meetings. However, if you do have budget materials, you can take copious notes and be prepared for the upcoming meeting. Or if there's a committee meeting, you can discuss those at the meeting.
Thank you.
Any additional board requests?
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Mayor Richardson has been appointed, is that the right word, to the Metro Board upcoming? I saw him announce he's going to be representing us on the Metro Board. I'd like to, I'm not sure exactly the process to do this, Madam Chair, but I think it would be useful for us to have a conversation as the Long Beach Transit Board with the mayor to share, our priorities, our thoughts as board members, along with our CEO and whatever staff he designates, of course, in advance of his taking this important seat. So that's one thing. The second is I had requested a presentation about our procurement processes, et cetera, and I was wondering what the timing of that is and when that would be coming back to the board.
Obviously, staff has been occupied with the budget, so I have not had conversations with the CEO on when that will be coming back to the board.
Okay, then my request is that it come back to the board at the very next meeting of this board, because at that point it would have been 90 days.
It would be, okay. Okay. Anything else? Do I hear a motion to adjourn? Is there a second? Okay, second. All right, call for a vote.
Chair Mejia? Vice Chair Nurbe? Secretary Treasurer Rawlings? Director Almeida? Director Angeles? Director Kemp? Director Sutton?
All right, the motion carries. The meeting is now adjourned. The regular meeting will be held July 23rd, 2026. Thank you.